Good evening and welcome to the studio this evening. One of these days, when I find some more of those tuits, the round ones, I'm going to tidy my desk, but in the meantime it will stay as it is. Junior is, if you can hear that in the background, that's Junior enjoying a curry. Junior likes curries. So he's busy enjoying a curry. We're going to do some beading this evening. I have absolutely no idea whether... Yeah, it looks very much like Twitch thinks I'm not online. That's clever, Twitch. I don't want to have to bounce the stream. Okay, now you think I'm online. Right. There are times when Twitch is not very good. Right, so I'm going to make another, I'm going to make a cord, a beaded cord. Have a play about with it. That cat loves curry. So he's busy finishing off well, not even the remnants basically, but just what what gets left. You know something? Let me just try something. Somebody, yeah, I noticed a comment somewhere about braided line, about how if you the end that comes off the reel first, if you take that end and feed it through your needle rather than the other end, that the braided cord is actually smoother and goes through beads more easily. Sounds like tunes. And actually it did sort of feel like that just then as I ran my fingers up the cord, thread, whatever you want to call it. Now then, this is where I concentrate. There we go. Come on. So that's more than enough for what I want there. Right, so I'm going to do light blue core, and I'm going to go back to using a technique that I was taught on stream the other night. But I'm going to just mix it up a little bit. Actually, I want black as the core, so I don't want this light blue out at all. I want the dark blue. God blimey. There's a derp, I suppose. So I'll put the light blue away. Could use that as the core, I think, but I'm going to use black as the core. I want some dark colours. And I can see I'm going to knock this camera with my my head. So I give you a slightly different perspective on things. Yeah, and the camera's the right way around. Which means I can point at things like my Etsy shop there a lot easier. So what I'm doing at the moment isn't in the Etsy shop because I've yet to photograph the things that I'm doing now and put them in there, but there are some chain based jewellery in there. There's even some sets now. So there's earrings and bracelet, and actually I've got to take some more photographs. I've got a set of earrings, bracelet and necklace to go in as well. Byzantine, but which is nice in pure silver. Right. Don't like doing that with the scalpel. A little bit too uncomfortable for me. Thank you very much. Yeah, that camera is a little bit, I'm trying to get it sort of over my shoulder, but it's not quite there. And I tell you what, the thing with these beads is they've got a white core. And the other night I was trying to do something. In fact, I'll show you what I was trying to do. Well, sort of. Now, this is peyote stitch, but I was just trying to create actually I was trying to create a right angle weave, and when I did, you can see all the white, and I thought that was the crystal fire line doing it, but actually I've realised it's these beads have a white core, which of course is partly why they shine, but because they've got a white core, it kind of looks like you've got glue or something in the middle. It doesn't look very good, but but these were what I could get hold of, shall we say, in the local hobby shop. I will at some point, when I am more confident in my finances, see about getting some more, although I preferred, so far I've preferred delicas, and this evening I may do some work with delicas, but we shall see. Now then, I want 5 black, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 blue and 2, no, I want 2 red and 2 blue, because I want the red on the top and the blue underneath. So I'm going to make a multicoloured spiral. So pull this down, leave myself, oh I don't know, leave myself a reasonable length. Let's go, I don't know what's a reasonable, that's about a reasonable length. Okay, and what I do now is then, sorry, I put, there's a black missing, come on black, thank you. The needle back up through the black, but not the rest. Now when you first start with the bead weaving, you've generally got a real long length of thread. I'm working with about 6 feet here, but it I didn't mean to go through that last one actually, so I'll just pull that. Actually I did mean to go through that last one, silly me, bugger. Alright, I'll have to pull it through and then pull it through again. I did mean to go through it. Yeah, you generally work with about 6 feet, which is as long as you can stand actually. It does help if you can deal with more, because then you don't have to change the tie on more thread and things like that. So I now want a black, and then I want 2 red and 2 blue, and I go through, yep. This is going to be a little bit challenging to start with. I'll take this through 4 of these black, there, like that. Trying not to get the tail wrapped into the rest of the stuff. And then I go through that black one there, which pulls everything tight. And then it says, I'm going to keep knocking that with my glasses, as they say, rinse and repeat. 2 red, 2 blue, and then through the last 4. Put those 2 blue back on. Right, yeah, through the last 4. Okay, this gets easier to thread once you I've got a few rounds on it. Here you go, you see I'm talking like an expert, and that's wrong, because I hadn't noticed that one of those had fallen off. So let's hope I can back thread this, otherwise I'll have to pull it out. Can I now manage to I'm either going to make a mess of this, or is that just loose through there? Hopefully that's just look. No, how on earth have I got that? Alright. Looks like, yeah, I'm going to have to do is take the needle off and pull that back. Because I've got, where's the loop? I've got a bead missing, so I need to just pull that back through, and then rethread this. So is there anybody out there? Sound like a seance. Is there anybody there? Oh no, does anybody believe in ghosts? I don't know whether I believe in ghosts or not. There's a lot of there's a body of, obviously there are people who believe in them, either or they're really good at scams, shall we say, and yet there's some really weird things go on. I think quite often a lot of the time you kind of, it's the old sort of thing where, from primeval times, darkness was danger, and whenever you're in a dark area, like haunted castles and things like that, you just imagine something is there, and it kind of you can attribute all sorts of things to ghosts when you sort of expect there to be something there to jump out at you in the darkness. Doesn't mean, although just because I don't believe in ghosts, doesn't really mean that I don't believe in ghosts. I'm not sure I'd want to be, still not sure I'd want to be somewhere where, it was said to be haunted. Whilst I don't believe in them, that's kind of not necessarily exactly true. Just because, you never know. And what if I'm wrong? Okay, that's on the wrong side of that, so that goes round there. There we go. Drugative. Hi. Clerybug, good evening. No, not very spiritual at all, to be honest. It's one of those things that I don't believe in it, but there is obviously something to it. And I kind of am interested in what it is, and you get scientific theories like what they call infrasound, very low frequency sound, which makes people nervous. Actually, sort of triggers adrenaline and all sorts of things in people. But there's so many strange things around that I'm kind of reluctant. I'm sort of skeptical, shall we say. I don't necessarily disbelieve, but I don't actually believe anyway. But there's just so many strange things around in the world, and that you just never know. Yeah. Okay. So good evening. Do you? Well, Clerybug there, I don't think believes in ghosts, but do you believe in them, Drugative? Or things like that? I mean, you get things that, like, obviously people believe in UFOs. I'm not sure whether I believe in UFOs, but I don't think we're alone in the universe. I think it's more a case of we just haven't come across aliens just yet. I'm not altogether, wouldn't altogether say that they've been to Earth or anything like that, but you do very much so believe in ghosts. Okay. Alright, sorry. I apologise for misspeaking you. They creep you out, you don't want to. Yeah, well, that's kind of what it is, isn't it? I don't know if you ever watched any of these ghost hunting programs. You get the true investigative ones, shall we say, where you see them setting cameras and microphones and things like that, and generally speaking they never find anything. And then you get the other type, which are sort of ghost experience type things, where you'll have a medium and what have you, and they always seem to come across odd noises and things like that, and it's kind of like, it almost feels like they find things because they expect to find things, and the people investigating don't find anything because they don't expect to find things. So how they interpret what they hear or sea seems to have a large bearing on things. Yeah, Most Haunted. That's that. Yeah, with Yvette Fielding, I think it was. That's the one I was thinking of, where they always seem to find something weird happening, shall we say? Yeah, I do as well, Claire. I don't have you ever seen Most Haunted? Yeah. I mean, they're entertaining enough, but and you get sort of interesting, what might be pseudoscience things about things like, you know, stone recording sound and things like that. West Yorkshire Drogative. So in West Yorkshire we've got places like York, of course, ancient, very ancient towns. Actually, if you go visit York, you can do ghost walks in York. They take you around the town and tell you where all the ghosts are supposed to appear on the walls and things like that. You watch Ghost Hunters? Yeah, I think I've seen that one as well. Oh, I think I find Most Haunted amusing more than anything. I certainly wouldn't want to be on the programme, because I think the fact that other people fear is what's contagious. You get somebody else who sort of is afraid, and that sort of seems to sort of affect everybody. And I think that's what you get on some, you know, on the programme sometimes. But it's I find it interesting because of the stories that they tell, you know, because that on that programme they sort of do tell you the history of the places and things like that. Ghost Hunter International. Yeah, I think I've seen that one. That's in the States, isn't it? I think, and they usually go out with two vehicles and things. I'm guessing you have Sky TV. You were brought up in one of the UK's most haunted villages. Okay. So did you ever see anything, Clerrybug, that you had difficulty explaining at the time? I mean, I don't believe I've seen or heard ghosts, but there are times when I've heard things which are, or potentially even seen things which I couldn't necessarily explain, but I don't necessarily believe them to be ghosts. I mean, we've had quite a lot of pussycats over the years, and there are times when you sort of look somewhere and look away and then think, hang on a minute, I've just seen a cat over there, and all three of ours are there, and you look back and there's nothing there, and it's sort of not quite sure, you know, whether it's been a trick of the light or just a trick of your memory, or there was actually something there. But Canewdon in Essex, you've seen a lot of stuff that you couldn't explain. Yeah. In my time, I've lived near an airport, so you see a lot of UFOs around airports, just because of the weird angles you look at planes from. And they, I'm used to flying model aircraft as well, and one of the things with that sometimes is you get things like planes which you know are moving appear to hover, and that's just because of the direction they're moving in, and then they sort of suddenly go all haywire. And you can understand how people can easily confuse planes for UFOs and things. So it makes you wonder what you're seeing, doesn't it? Is that truly a ghost? Is that an imaginary friend? Or something else? Did you ever do anything like look to see if there was any reason, if you assume it was a ghost of a real person, did you ever sort of look into the history of the area to see if there was any reason for it, Clary Bug? Because I imagine you actually weren't particularly scared, or were you? I'm not sure whether I'd be scared in that situation or not. Really, really not sure. I know I used to cycle to work, and from work, obviously. And the route used to take me on a country road past a forest, actually, or a wood, I suppose you could call it, but it's large enough to qualify as a forest. And that used to be really spooky. I used to hate that bit of the journey. It used to be real. I won't say I was scared, but very apprehensive going past that wood. The rest of the journey, not a problem. Even the rest of that road, because it wasn't lit at all. That was back when I was sort of 14, 15, but I still don't think I'd be that confident around that sort of area now, even then. Okay. Yeah. Interesting experiences. Okay, so is that the supposition? Perhaps it's somebody who's lost a family member or something at the time, maybe. If it goes that far back. Do you get any sort of indication from clothing or anything like that, Clary Bug, as to how old it was? Or she was? Yeah. Is this a good hobby to get into? Well, it depends on what you like, Drugative. Okay, Clary Bug. I mean, this is only one of the things that I do, and I've only literally just started doing beadwork. I did some a little while ago. To try, basically. I enjoyed doing that. You need patience, I think. No, I'll rephrase that, because I don't think you need patience, because my view of patience is slightly different to other people's. You've got to have a tolerance for it not being a particular. This grows quite fast, actually, but some of the other beading things to grow quite slowly. And I think you have to have a tolerance for that. It's something which is quite easy to do, so you get results. I mean, I learned what I'm doing here now is a variation on what I was taught by somebody on stream. So they were telling me in chat how to do this only a few nights ago, and so this particular sort of threading I'm doing here is new to me as well, and I'm now experimenting with this. You know, red, blue and black. It looks better actually in person than it does on the camera, but I do enjoy doing it. That was what I first made. Well, this is what I first made. This is the very first time I tried beading, and yeah, I think it's a good hobby to get into. If, as I say, if you like it and you have someone to give these things to, or wear them myself if you want. I guess I make. I make quite a bit of jewellery, so things like chains. And you see most of the ones in the picture there, but I do carving and pyrography and quite a lot of other crafts as well. I'm an airbrush artist, which I don't do on stream, and one or two other things. Yeah. Well, it is. I got these to try some. These are seed beads. What you just saw, the bracelet you just saw, is delica beads, which is slightly different. And I got these to just try something with because they are relatively cheap. This costs less than this tube when it's full, but these are delica beads and these are seed beads. But for that sort of thing, I suspect that the delicas are a lot better that I just shown you than these. But I got these to just play and try with, because see what the limitations are and what I can and can't do. Plus, I could get those in the local hobby shop, and I didn't have to send off for them, so I could actually go in and go, "Hey, I like that colour." Yeah, it is. It is drugative. I suppose one of the things about beadwork is it is relatively cheap as a hobby, at least to start. I think one of the issues with it is you start to collect beads. Just yeah, you go into the shop and go, "Ooh, shiny! I want," and you start collecting and buying beads and things, and then it can add up. But essentially, I mean, the bracelet was a kit. I bought it as a kit because when I try something new, buying a kit means you get everything that you need, and it's, you know, if you don't sort of get halfway through and then something you need is missing and you have to wait a week for it or whatever to come in the post. So a kit is a great thing. And also, if something goes wrong with a kit, you kind of know it's you that's done it and it wasn't the kit. If it wasn't because you got the wrong beads or something like that. But there are quite a few others. Chainmail is another one that's relatively... is the selling side of it going well? It's not going too bad. Etsy is not great for selling, at least not at the moment. I've sold most of my stuff, well, all of the stuff, outside of Etsy, and I kind of need to do some probably more things like local crafts fairs and things like that. You know, internet selling is all about views, and that's the hard part on the internet, is getting the views. If you can get the views, you can sell the stuff, provided it's at a reasonable cost. Yeah, the same with the rings. That kit was actually a Beadaholic kit, but it came from Amazon. Oh no, actually, it came from Beadaholic selling on Amazon. Drugative, thank you very much for following. That's fantastic of you. And I got that kit mainly because I liked it. like the look of the bracelet, so yeah, that's why I got that one. I just like that design. And then once you've tried out your kit, then you can do things like go, you know what, you can look around for other sources for the materials, because then you've got an idea what it is that you're looking for and things like that. You know, so what I'm using here, thread is Fireline? I keep forgetting what it's called. Fireline? Yeah, Fireline. This one. It's actually fishing line, and it's actually Berkeley Fireline is the actual manufacturer who make fishing line, and this is fishing line. It's just that in this case Beadsmith reel it, and so this is 50 yards. You can get sort of 10-yard lengths, but it's ridiculously expensive for short lengths, and even this at 50 yards wasn't cheap, but I couldn't find a reasonable, fishing line comes in about 200-yard lengths reels, and comparatively speaking, because it's fishing line and not jewellery line, it's about half the price. Just because it says, bead thread on it, they kind of double the price as opposed to fishing line, and but finding sort of a 200-yard reel, actually in the UK, is quite hard. That is why this is 50. But it's things like that. I've deliberately left it where it is clary bug. I mean, yeah. I kind of want some. I don't want to put it over the video, basically, and normally that 30% wouldn't be there, of course. I don't want to put it over the video because I want to, because at some point I'm going to grab that video size, blow it up to full screen and put the video as a time lapse onto YouTube, but thanks for mentioning it. You might steal your dad's fishing line. Yeah, this is braided line, so rather than monofilament. Even fishing wise, I never particularly liked, because I did do fishing at one point, I never particularly liked monofilament because it's kind of really stiff. Braided line was I always preferred braided line when I was fishing. It bends nice and easily, and it sort of tends to stay where it puts. Monofilament's quite springy, with it being literally mono, meaning single filament. But if he's got, tiger tail. I've not come across tiger tail. Don't know what that is. But yeah, if you're asking for some braided line is actually is quite frequently used, associated with things like fly fishing, because you need flexible line. Just for the leaders, you don't fly fish with this particular type. It's a special line that's used for fly fishing. But yeah, you might have some clary bug. Yeah, I mean, this is only £6 line, £6 test. It's not. You don't need really heavy duty stuff. £6 is quite a lot, and especially when you're throwing it through beads more than one, because you might not notice, but I am looping this around multiple times. So by the time I've finished, there's 5 threads go through each bead, and so strength wise that multiplies up. 5 threads carry £30, so you need £30 of force to pull this apart, which is quite a lot. Beading wire. Oh, okay. I knew the name. I kind of knew the name. I couldn't think what it was. I do have some beading wire here as well, but that's not to bead with. Again, just some stuff I picked up at the local shop because I want to do. I want to put some chainmail scales onto a birch pin, and the easiest way of doing that is going to be to basically tie it on with beading wire. Like me, good evening. Now there is your expert on anything beadwork. If it's to paraphrase something that he said the other night, if it's got a hole in it, he can do something with it. Tie gifts for stringing only. Okay, I have no idea. You can't find any kits? Are you serious, Clavybug? Just do a search on Amazon for Beadaholic, for example, or Delica Beadaholic bracelet. There's got to be some there. I mean, you could search their site themselves, but of course they're in the States, so you find me one. All right. Amazon.co.uk. Paste. That's a long URL, but there you go. That's one. That's a cheat. That's how they've it's an even count peyote stitch, which is what that bracelet you saw was. But they cheat to make it look like an odd count. And that's the kit for the actual bracelet that I just showed you a minute ago. And past that, you can do your own searches. You're doing perler today. Have you actually got an iron out like me, or are you still beading with perlers? See, you've got me into doing this style of cord now, you know. And I realised the other night when I was kind of having problems with right-angled weave, was because it kind of, and this is peyote stitch, but it kind of looked like, and I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't show up very well on camera, but in person this looks like it's got glue down the middle, down the lines, and kind of realised, I've sort of realised today why it, and the cubic right angle looked terrible, and I realised today why, and it's because these beads have a white core, or a silverish white core, and on the inside, and it just makes it look, you know, because they're so small, it look, you see the white around it, and it just makes it look messy. You're going to taper mount. Oh, okay, so you're actually doing perler stuff and sticky mounts. Oh, well, I might have to have a watch of that. I don't know when are you going live, Blight Me? Mind you, I suppose with Silver Hearts. Ah, okay. I learned something today then, you see. Thank you very much. I shall maybe potentially look for some that aren't. Might be okay in larger sizes, but at this size it looked really messy. So I'm just trying something different. So a red and blue with a black core. You're doing it now, not on stream. Oh, okay. Ah, well, that's all right. I like watching because I used to, of course, Bubbles the Monkey, who was on your stream the other night or day. Used to watch her doing it quite a lot. Some of the stuff that she does is some of the pictures she creates. Some quite amazing designs. And actually, she I won't say she persuaded me, but she was the kind of the inspiration for me wanting to try out perler. So I do have a perler kit. Mentioned earlier kits. Buy kits, then at least I've got everything I need. Using photographic colours, and she helped me find a kit, which is actually sat at the other side of the studio for me to try out at some point. So okay, Blight Me. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing things. I see Clarybug has gone quiet. I suspect a credit card is involved in that quietness. I think I should have done this with a light core actually, but maybe a white core. And I could always change halfway through. There's no reason why not. That's part of the fun, isn't it, of doing things like this and experimenting. And if you want to change colour for the core, you can do. I'm not sure I will, but I can do. Not yet, it's not. Yeah, but there's the yet in there, Clarybug, the yet. Wow, I like that. You see, I'm into bright colours. He says, with dark blue, black and red. But yeah. Oh dear. I just scrolled that page down, and underneath there's an ad which struck me as being funny because I keep meaning to sort of at some point get one, but there's an ad underneath it for an Optivisor head-mounted magnifier, which I'm starting to need really to do some of the stuff that I do, especially with the chainmail. This isn't so bad for some reason, but if with the chainmail I kind of need a little bit more magnification. And of course it was just there. Struck me as being funny. You and Hammerbees don't get on, yeah. How did your iron mess it up? Too hot, or you didn't go and put the iron straight on the plastic, did you? I have seen messages on sort of, I'm going to say bulletin boards. That's how old I am. I've seen messages on bulletin boards of people who hadn't realised that You then need something between the iron and the plastic. Native. Okay, but it looked like a native design. I didn't know that's what it looked like, but I was trying to think of the style, and it kind of looked like tribal type style or Native American then. So thank you very much. Again, learned something else. The iron didn't heat up evenly. You've had 20 years experience. It could well be that you need to try a different... Well, I'm surprised iron didn't heat up evenly. And you've got the experience. I've never tried it. I have used irons to shrink plastic. Because for model planes, one of the things you can... Instead of... like, real planes have aluminium skins. Model planes, we often use what they call heat shrink plastic. It's got glue on one side. You heat settable glue, so you iron the edges, which glues it down. Then you shrink the plastic. And one of the things with that, if you want an even shrink, one of the things you do is you keep the iron moving. You don't keep it in one spot. And when I was thinking about trying perler stuff out, and I haven't done it yet, I was thinking that I'd be using that same technique of actually heating the plastic up really relatively slowly by keeping the iron moving. I'm not sure whether that's the right thing or not, but maybe. I have also seen reference to the fact that the different manufacturers, their beads heat and melt differently, and you can actually use that effect to get different effects because of the different way in which they melt. God blimey. I gotta be careful. Sometimes I sound like I know what I'm talking about. But it's all experience doing something else half the time. Yeah. Okay. I know there's about 3 or 4 different ones, isn't there? And then there's a Chinese variant. Oh yeah, no. Well, I mean, perler beads. Are they Swiss or American? I'm not sure. I know when I was looking at them, because I like pictures, and ultimately, I know perlers are used to create a lot of sprite-like stuff, but that kind of doesn't interest me. I'm more interested in actual sort of images, and I was kind of looking at all sorts of different manufacturers just because of the different sort of colours that you need, you know, different variations of shades and things. Yeah. Oh well, there was nothing like that when I was a kid, as they say, but that's a long time ago now. But yeah, I mean, you get things, things like the Meccano stuff that's in, you know, and that's something that I had as a kid, and with metal and plastic Meccano, and think, you know, and relatively speaking, not so long ago, that was sort of all the big thing, and everybody's going, oh, all this brand new stuff, and it's kind of like, yeah, I remember that. 40 odd years ago. Yeah, she just dropped in, picked up her computer and disappeared, Clarybrook. I don't think she's in the mood for listening to me sort of ramble on about absolutely nothing this evening. Been there, done that, yeah. Well, you see that? That's actually nothing like the Meccano, the original Meccano. Yellow strips and red plastic bolts. You know, that's modern Meccano. I like it, but it's modern Meccano. I want any of these fancy shapes, you know. You had axles, grey axles, push-on wheels. Nothing like tracks or anything like that. Great big red cogs. Oh, original all the yellow stuff. Yeah. Oh, blimey. Yeah, well, it obviously hung around a lot past my my youth. Then I remember making sort of big tower cranes with it, and sort of 3 feet high and stuff like that. And you could do things like, well, you could do a heck of a lot actually. Ferris wheels. So some fairly large and what would be relatively intricate models. All just with sort of straight pieces of Meccano, nothing, no bends, no angles, no plates or anything like that. It was worth keeping and putting it back in the loft, at which point it's not making any money or anything like that, and you're hoping in a few years' time that 500 becomes 5,000. But yeah, it's, well, there's a lot of nostalgia in that sort of thing. I mean, you know, there's people, older people like me who remember playing with it in their youth. And then after, it was only after that that Metal Meccano came along, and that only sort of came in just towards when I stopped playing with stuff like that. And of course, these days I'd quite happily buy Meccano and technical Lego and stuff like that and play with it. Oh dear, yeah. You didn't play with Meccano as a 14 and 15 year, you know, that was baby stuff. And then when you get older, you go out and buy it all again and wonder, and not only that, you wonder where all the stuff went, because you never threw it away, but it vanished. You know, I'm sure there must have been sort of, aliens coming along and sort of in the middle of the night, sort of vacuuming it all up and making it vanish. There's all sorts of stuff like that I can remember as a kid that I know I've never thrown away, and yet I don't have it. You know, original Lego, for example. That's when about the some really nice stuff with that. So, but the tiny bricks 1, 2, and 4, I think, were about the largest bricks you got. But you did get things like roof tiles, which was nice. But that's about it. Yeah, I've seen that. Of course, Claire, I wouldn't buy the kit. They've got a video on how to make that. In fact, I actually meant to make some of those to go with the special lady and the Valentine's bracelet. Yep. I'll come up on screen for me. Yeah, indeed. Oh, it was a birth. Is it a birthday present? Is it? Or is he being cruel and keeping him for Christmas? I actually don't like the bottom thing. Don't like that on the bottom. I'm just thinking what I ought to have done with this is perhaps use white in the middle as the core on this, and you'd have had red, white and blue. I tell you what it's almost like, especially if you sort of dot it some white into the core, and it'd be I guess one for you, like me, it'd be Stars and Stripes, wouldn't it? Oh, Christmas, yeah. So in other words, he'll give them to you sometime. Yeah, you kind of need something on the bottom to weight it down a little bit to pull them down. But it can be almost anything. Swarovski do some really nice, like teardrops, for example. Relatively expensive, of course, but that would do something like that. Or I don't know, small heart crystal, something like that. Or even just a small, like a small. You could actually get away with just like a small chain, a 1-in-1 chain or 2-in-1 chain. If I do another one of these, I will drop the odd white bead in, I think, in the core. Just for that Stars and Stripes idea. Like me, has started something now with me doing these. I kind of find it really relaxing to do, mainly because it doesn't take a lot of thought, and it's quite easy. Quite easy to do is just feed the odd bead onto a needle, and tension almost takes care of itself, which is nice. Okay, Clavybug, it's not a problem. This has been a bit of an odd stream tonight. We started off by talking about ghosts, I think, and we've got back onto beads and Meccano. I could talk about if Fluffy Twiglet was around. I could talk about trains, because I used to have, and I still have actually. I've got Hornby. I think it was Hornby Triang at the time, but Hornby 3-rail engine. Now they go actually the Mallard, and they're quite a collector's item these days. Is 3-rail stuff. I used to have a whole set of track, and that's another one that the fairies or the aliens managed to vanish the track, because I had a heck of a lot of track for that, which is also worth quite a bit, and I've never thrown it away, but I do have the engine somewhere. Unfortunately I've lost the tender, so it's not worth half what it would be with it. Still worth a fair bit of cash though. Oh dear. Come on. I was just thinking, well, I was just trying to think then what kind of other programs, because in the UK it's Sky TV, but I was just trying to think what kind of other programs I used to like watching, because we were talking about sort of Ghost Hunters International and another ghost program that I've forgotten the name of a second, and trying to think what else I used to like watching on there, but it's. And it just occurred to me, of course, I used to like watching a lot of the, in quotes, reality stuff. So it's people doing their normal job. So things like the customs programs, customs officer programs, the police ones, where they just, okay, they're doing it, they edit for dramatic effect, but people just doing their normal jobs. And used to be really fascinated to watch those, to see how people did things. It's probably, well, it sort of explains, or not explains, but it matches sort of why I like watching Twitch or watching the creative section, because it's people doing things. And sort of just similar sort of idea in a way is watching people do their jobs or watching people do crafts. Actually sort of doing stuff that's not set up. I'm not keen on things like Big Brother and stuff like that. Or what's the I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, the Jungle thing, or any of those in quotes reality programs, because I don't find them particularly real. Now the very first Big Brother wasn't too bad in the UK, because what they did on that was they had people doing things like learning things in the first series. So I think they had someone, like I can remember, I think someone going into the house and trying to teach them how to do things like sculpture, and then they'd have a go at doing sculpture, and that sort of struck me as interesting. But then from my point of view, it went downhill from then. Right. No, that camera is not going to stay there. I keep knocking it. Yeah, I was going to say, if I had the space, I'd move it further away. Yeah. The operative word, if. I don't have the space, and I can't move it any further away. No, I can't. Not until I get the new studio. Quarter past 9. I'm going to have to get a lot faster to make these things worth selling. Either or not pay myself a lot. Unfortunately, that's one of the problems of craft work like this. You can create some really beautiful things, but people just are not interested in paying a commercial rate for some of these things. And I don't think I'm doing okay. I'm not as fast as someone like Blight Me, who I'm sure probably is able to get through doing this sort of thing in would have done about 2 by now. But I don't think I'm being particularly slow, and yet there's not a lot of value for people in having handmade stuff. even if it is unique. I know I have had people say to me things like, you know, it's when I like at work, oh, it's expensive stuff, and you know, can't you make it cheaper? And it's things like, yeah, and how much time are you going to give me to, you know, on some of the things that they do, you know? How would you like it if the business said, oh, we're just going to pay you sort of a third of the thing, you know, do the same work but pay you a third of the wage? And it's going, but you know, my time's valuable. Yeah, so's mine. Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that one. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I like that. Yes, I like that one, like me. I once well, I do airbrushing. Or I have done airbrushing. I'm not doing it at the moment. Space problem again. But used to spend quite a lot of time on message boards and things, and talking to airbrush artists. And there was you know, one that's within airbrushing was quite famous at the time, and he used to tell a story about doing murals in things like nightclubs and things like that, and the way in which you do that sort of thing is you take a projector and you project your image, whatever it is, something you've probably drawn yourself, or in this case it was something you'd drawn yourself, taken the projector, projected it onto the wall and was tracing onto the wall before he took took an airbrush to it, and then that's when the magic happened, so to speak. So I mean, just tracing an outline on a wall, you know, it just saves you time. You could draw it, but it just saves you time. It's really hard to see things, you know, that large sometimes. And apparently he's telling the story of the owner that came and sort of said, oh, I didn't know you cheated like that. You know, it's not worth me paying you money when you're just going to trace it onto the wall. And he said all he did was he handed the bloke his airbrush and went and sat down and said, there you go then, if it's that easy, you go ahead. And I gather the story was that at which point the owner kind of capitulated, shall we say, but it would have been fun just to see what somebody did with something like that. You know, let them have a go, because using an airbrush, the skills in the airbrush, not in tracing, but of course, you know, people don't want to pay you to, tracing speeds up the process. If you to draw it on the wall by hand, it would sort of say it takes 10 times longer, and people don't want to pay you to draw on the wall. They want to pay for the picture at the end of it, if they want to pay for it at all. And of course, if you're really skilled at doing something so you make it look easy, then people want to pay even less for it because they think it's easy. And then it gets really hard at that point. It's kind of your only recourse is to hand them the tool and say, "Go ahead, have a go." And this piece of music always reminds me of Lion King. It's got a semi-tribal music. Only semi. Or in other words, nothing like tribal music at all, apart from if you're in Disney. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I kind of know what you mean. I mean, it's like, in some ways, it's like this. This is easy. The skill comes from the speed by which you can do it, I guess, and how you are able to incorporate variations. The basic sort of threading and beads on a needle and is not particularly hard at all, but some of the right angle weave isn't fantastically hard to learn, but then it sort of gets, the skill comes in some of the more complex stuff, or just the pure speed. I mean, the picture you showed me the other night of that cuff is something that I only vaguely have an idea how to start, but yeah. But yeah. And then there is well, pearl, I suppose, but and then there's occasionally the odd thing that you see somebody doing, and they claim it's hard, and you look at it and go, but that's easy because you're an expert at doing it. Well, that's a slightly different story, but yeah, perla. Maybe one of these days when you see somebody claiming that, like me, what you'll have to do is, you probably get banned as a troll, but ask them what it is that's hard about it. I say half of them probably would just ban you as being a troll at that point, though. But I don't know. I think it'd be an honest question. You know, I hadn't thought about that, but actually that's quite a valid observation, isn't it, really? Oh, I tell you what, that's tickled me. That really has. That observation is it really yeah. I can see that being what's going to happen now for the rest of this evening. There'll be the odd. I'm gonna end up sort of scaring Lady Zara, I think, because I'll just break out laughing or giggling for a couple of minutes. Odd moments in this evening now because of that. Oh dear. Having done about I think I've done about three or four of these things now. I think I thought I'd have learnt by now just sort of roughly how long a thread I need to have to create one of these, so that I do it in one go rather than having to add a length on. But great thought after the fact as opposed to before. Still, that's what you do. You learn through experience. If you don't experience it, you don't learn. 5-year-olds. Actually, the thought just crossed my mind with something like perla. What you could do with that as well, and I might try that, is of course you can always, I was about to say embed, but that's not what I was thinking. You could, instead of ironing it or sticking it down, you could always embed it in things like plaster of Paris or an epoxy mix, something like that. Something which is relatively pourable, and produce a solid item that way. It's an interesting idea, because you get people that do things like tiles with mosaics type stuff on, and you could almost do something like that with perla, and it'd be potentially a bit thick, I suppose, but to be good if you could sort of slice it. Well, I suppose if you use the mini perlers, then that would work quite nicely in some ways. Something on the list to try. Experiment with materials. It's amazing the ideas and inspirations that can appear sometimes out of nowhere when you just start, discussing odd things or stuff like that. Mind you, having said that, I saw what was it? I can't remember what it was I saw, but alternative meanings to, I think I was probably watching another stream. It was kind of like alternative meanings to two words. Inspired by means I copied it. And stuff like that. I think they were talking about the gaming industry, and it was sort of words used, things like inspired by means we copied the game but called it something different, or other words that basically meant sort of similar ideas. We've nicked your idea and just put our colours on it, type of thing. And I wish I could remember what he said, because there was about 3 phrases, which sort of seems appropriate in a way. I'm working almost off frame, aren't I? Move to one side. Yeah. Yeah, because you can use quite liquid epoxy then. You don't have to use sort of... And given that it, I mean, you can do all sorts of things with the epoxy as well, because of course you can mix fillers into it. So you can change colour, you can put glitter into it, and all sorts of stuff as well into it. And if you use if you use filler, so it's a bit thicker, you can almost do different things as well. You can sort of put different areas of epoxy down, so you could like do red glitter and blue glitter type of thing. But would you even need to super glue? I suppose yeah. It's getting it out afterwards, isn't it? Because I mean, you don't want to put you can't really stick them, I suppose. Yeah, it's forming that bounding box and having something that either you leave the backing on, or you can somehow get the backing off afterwards. Not sure would super glue stick the pearls together. They're with them being I assume they're made out of PLA, which is quite sort of shiny and smooth, and super glue doesn't tend to like stuff like that. It sort of likes semi-porous stuff. Certainly that sort of thing might be an easier way of doing large format things than trying to bond them with heat melt them. So fairly large-ish wall sculptures, and there I guess the actual chunkiness of it, which you lose a little bit when you melt them, would be an advantage. You get I suppose the thing you'd have to watch then is weight more than anything. Oh, that's fully embedded stuff, but yeah, I mean, I was thinking not necessarily a fully embedded, but sort of either half or flat embedded, so that they actually are on the surface rather than fully embedded like that. But yeah, those sorts of things obviously get heavy real quick though. But yeah, sort of The sort of thing I was thinking about is, of course, they look really shiny on the outside when they're embedded. But so if you left a little bit or just the top surface of the plastic exposed, because it's not as shiny, if you see what I mean, type of idea. Mind you, then here you go. You see, just throwing all sorts of ideas into the air. Of course, you could, if you've got a bounding box that you can do the thing in. Of course, you don't have to put them on their end. You can lay them down flat. So instead of having, the tube up, you actually sort of seeing the flat pixel. Although it's rounded, so you get sort of a nice tactile top. If you sort of half bonded it in some way, you can then you've got a tactile surface to run your hands over. Interesting. Fairly interesting. My brain's going now. Trying to think of things that you could do that sort of thing with. Of course, then you don't have to worry about melting plastic and it being too melting too much or not melting enough or asymmetric melting and all sorts of things. Gosh, you're not going to melt them. It's and then sort of all weird sort of odd ideas come to mind, because I was just suddenly thinking then, in some ways it'd be really small, but you could do it almost, you start talking about using beads to do similar things. I mean, you're almost into the sticky, put glue down, put glitter on it with sort of 9, 10, 11 row beads, but with them being glass, with them being nice beautiful colours and things like that, they could make a nice sort of medium for that if you could somehow lay them in a way that expose the bit of the colour that you're after. Or at least they look regular. I think it would look nice if they looked regular rather than just sort of piled up at haphazard. But mould it, yeah. It's interesting because it's interesting. That's an odd phrase. It's interesting because, which is kind of a segue type statement, even though it's probably not interesting at all. But I was just thinking, using beads for odd things. Lady Zara came back with some little miniature glass bottles with the idea of putting beads in them. Because what she's seen before in the past is sort of bottles with sand in it, which has formed pictures just of the way the artist has put the sand in, coloured sand in. But she was kind of thinking there just of sort of layers of beads, which probably wouldn't require some sort of resin in there just to hold them in place, otherwise you'd just get a multicoloured mix. But okay. Alright. They're glued to the inside of a bowl, are they? Yeah, well, what do they? I was about to say then there's no there's nothing new under the sun. So the idea you've already done it. That looks lovely, does that? Hmm. Are they glass or plastic then? Yes, I did mention your statement like that the other day, so earlier on in the stream. Um, yeah, I am trying to think of some for myself as well. I'd love to find the sort of the next must-have whatever it is, in terms of things like this or whatever, or drive that particular fashion, whatever it is. That's not long enough yet, but it's getting there. I'm moving that camera. I keep working off frame or working close to off frame. How much longer have I got to go on this? Another inch and a half. In which case I shall tie that thread off and put another one on. Beading is becoming one of my favourite activities. Mainly because of all the shiny stuff. This is what I could do with that visor. Because I can see there's a bead, I just can't see the hole in it. So my use of the holes is not as good as your use of the holes, like me. No, don't do that. Thank you. Alright, let's trim that off. I feel there's only what, about 6 inches of thread here, but I don't know, I feel like I'm wasting it. I really feel like I ought to be able to use that, and I've got to throw 6 inches away. And it's, I'm a Yorkshireman, you see. There's a definition for Yorkshireman, and that is the definition of a Yorkshireman is a tight-fisted Scotsman. And if you know the reputation of Scotsmen, then you might understand the slight joke in that. But yeah, I'm a Yorkshireman, so I can make that joke. So if that's about, yeah, so we'll stretch it a little bit, not about that far. But it looks like I'm going to actually have to buy an actual fishing reel of this stuff, as opposed to, which is quite hard to find in the UK, Fireline, the real stuff. Find plenty of it in beading shops, but it's all this sort of 10 yards and 30 yard and 50 yard stuff. I kind of want a 200 yard reel, but even in the fishing shops, it doesn't seem to be a particularly common thread in common line in the UK. And having said that, maybe I ought to just try some general fishing thread, braided thread, because that's all they say. Well, that's all they say is, and it's only because obviously a jewellery manufacturer, a beading manufacturer has picked it up and re-reeled it. And it's kind of become famous, I suppose, because of that, in quotes, famous. And there's no particular reason why some other braided filament shouldn't be as good, and quite probably cheaper as well. The number of times I've done that, you can put, well, I've only managed to do it about 20 times. I haven't done a lot of threading of needle, of this stuff. It's not that easy to see, but I learned. I did. If you ever try, I did learn a tip, which is, as you saw me do there, squeeze the end with the pliers, and it flattens it, and that makes it a little bit easier to go through the eye of the needle. Your eyes are too old. Well, mine are as old as the rest of my body, and that's 50 odd years old, so I don't know if I beat you in that respect. I quite basically can't actually see what I was threading. What I could see is the gap, if you like, because holding the needle against something with a light background, you can see where the I've got a knot. There you go. You could see where the gap was that you were trying to get the thread through. But that's that was about the limit of it, and it's just sort of keep sort of just pushing the thread until it went in the right place. And now I am trying to get to tie a knot in this, but I just want to go behind the thread that's there. You shot it. I'm not proud anyway. If I need it to, I've got a magnifying glass behind me. I'll quite happily get the magnifying glass out. I'm already and have been for some time considering getting a visor, a magnifying visor for doing this sort of thing with. Right. Just threading this back up through the beads to get to there's a space, oh well, there's a hole in that bead somewhere. There we go. Back up to the top where I can then carry on. Adding in, they're a bit loose. It's a good job. I can tighten them up a little bit. Plus you notice I'm already wearing glasses, so they definitely help. Without them I would not even be able to see. I can see the needle, there's two of them, but without the glasses I wouldn't stand a chance. Amazing invention, glasses. Yeah, it's still I mean, yeah, they've been around a long time of glasses, but it's I'm still kind of amazed when if I take my glasses off and then I put them on, the fact that I can go from everything's blurred to I can see everything sharp, and I can read I can actually read and stuff like that. It kind of amazes me in a way how glasses can do that. I know all the and I know all the theory behind the way it bends light and all that sort of stuff, but it's still pretty amazing. You can put these glass on your face, or plastic in this case, and all of a sudden everything that was blurred is sharp. It's kind of an amazing thing. Now the other night when I did this, I by pure coincidence, I can't remember which colour it was I was using, but I ran out of beads exactly on my last bead when I put it in, and it's kind of like I couldn't do that if I tried. I can only do it when I don't try. Same thing seems to happen quite a lot of time when I'm doing the chain work as well with the rings. You just get a random amount out, and by pure coincidence that random amount is always exactly the right number. I just saw that one bead away because it's actually damaged, or it's not been coated properly. It's got a little white spot on it. And yet if I sit down and I count rings out from the box, invariably I never get exactly, I either miscount somewhere along the line, or what it'll be is they're a slightly different size, and so it gets slightly longer or slightly shorter than it than an earlier one will have done with the same number of rings, and you always end up getting more or putting them away even if you've counted them, and yet the purely random getting it out and just dumping some on the desk, and they turn out to be exact. Of course, it's all a load of rubbish really, because you only remember the times it was a perfect count. You know, if it wasn't, well, you'd just dump some. So why would you expect it to be a perfect count? So you don't remember it. Weird the way the brain works. And mine obviously is more weird than others if I think about things like that, especially in the middle of a stream. Well, it's actually 10 o'clock at night. I haven't finished this, but I will be finishing it. I may do a little bit more after this, because I'm about to stop the stream now. I may do a little bit more, but I doubt it. I'll probably put it away and do some more tomorrow. But it's 10 o'clock. It's about time I finish for this evening, so I am going to say thank you to everybody that's watching. Sorry if you've just joined. I'm going to point out my website, zaragonart.com, which tells you a little bit about some of the crafts. I haven't done beadwork yet, I've got that to put on there, but a little bit about some of the crafts that I do on stream, and a few of the images of a few of the particular things that have been done. I'm also going to point out I'm on Facebook, so you can see lots of pictures on Facebook, and Twitter at Zaragonart, obviously. Good place to follow me if you would like to come back and watch, because if I can't go live for any reason, or I found some of these round tuits which let me get on with some other things, then I'll tweet that out. And I'm going to also point out the Etsy shop, zaragonart.etsy.com, because all of these images you've been seeing here on the left hand side, or almost all of them, all the jewellery items, they're all available on the shop if you're interested in getting them. And of course there's that 30% off at them. You know what, it's really hard to do when the camera's at an angle. There's a 30% off there. It's that way I'm trying to do it. Well, it's there across the bottom anyway. So if you're interested in any of the things like that, it's a lovely piece. Is that it's unique. There's going to be only two of those, that one and another one that I make for whoever wants one. There is only one more. I don't have any more rings. That colour is a unique colour, a deep rose colour. But check it out. Other than that, I'd be really pleased if you're not following, if you push the follow button and joined everybody else and came back and took a look the next time. Excuse me. And the next time, hopefully, should be tomorrow evening. I do try and stream every evening, although at the moment I am looking for another job, so I sometimes get involved in writing CVs and things like that, so I can't always stream. But I do try and let you know on Twitter if that's the case. But I'm hoping tomorrow night to stream from about 8 PM UK time, 2000 hours UTC or GMT, they are both the same. And that was about 2 hours ago. So I want to say thank you for everybody that has watched and joined in the chat and said hello and talked about weird things like ghosts and beads and UFOs and all sorts of other odd things that gets talked about on this stream. And I'll look forward to seeing you again in the future. So from the White Rose of Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, thank you very much. Hope I see you again in the future, and bye for now.